You made it to video 3? Okay. Alright, well, I won't let you down. What we're wanting to do in this video is put some motion and some melody and some alternate ways of playing these chords to make them more interesting, more colorful, more flavorful. Again, I give the idea of baked chicken. If you had just plain baked chicken, you eat plain baked chicken, like it does the trick, it does the job, you get full, it nourishes you, right? But where's the interestingness to it? Where's the flavor to it? So chords like C sus4 give it some motion and make the moment more interesting. So let's go through some of the common ways that we can play chords and put colors to the chords in the key of C. Starting with C, we already talked about the C sus4 in the video 2, but yeah, just reviewing that real quick. C sus4 means to add an F note to our C chord. Let's talk about numbers real quick. Where do those come from? They're not random. Numbers come from finding the note along the key to the number that you're trying to play. Here's what I mean. C sus4. What number do we get there? We get 4. It's like saying, what is C's fourth note away? What's the fourth note away from C? If you count C as 1, you have to call that chord as 1. You go 1 or C, D, E, F. So C's 4 note is the F note. So when we say C sus4, what we're meaning is play a C chord, but add an F note to it. Add C's 4 note to it. So 1, 2, 3, 4. You get this lift, you get this suspended feeling on the 4. In fact, that's what sus chords do. They give you a sense of tension, of breath in, and resolve, or release, or rest. Feel the tension and rest. That's what they do. They build tension. Why not? Music should be full of tension and release, tension and release. That's what draws us in and connects us to the music. When we don't have that feeling, we're playing these plain chords that do the trick, like baked chicken, but they don't do much else for you. They don't draw you in. They don't invite you. You don't go, oh, right? Oh, what was that, right? We want music that invites you in and flavors it up, right? Colors the picture. So that's 1, the suspended. F note is in the key of C. So of course we could throw an F note into our C chord, and it's just gonna like connect us to the key even more. C2 or C add 2. So what was I doing? I was releasing that middle finger, revealing that open D string. Da, 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 da. Maybe suspended. Da, 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 da. We just made that C much more interesting. Another thing you can do is do a C major 7. Revealing that pointy finger. Another thing I like to do is I throw a pinky on that high G note. G is already a part of the natural traditional C. Think about your open G, that 4th string down, the open G. There's already a G in it. So this high pinky note is a G. We're just throwing a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 note instead of 1, 2, 3 note where that open E is. There's a lot of information here. Let's go to D minor. One thing I'll do is continue with that pinky note, that G note. Open that pointy finger. It's got a little darkness, a little coolness to that. Sounds pretty good. Another chord I do a lot in the key of C for a D minor chord is I do a D minor 7, which is you clamp these two down. Basically, instead of this D note, we're releasing that, and that note is playing to this 5th string down, 1st fret, and it's a C note. There's that 7 note. I like to do that if I'm doing the C over E. Alright, sounds cool. We talked about C over E already in the second video when we talked about the circle of chords. But again, that's like a, oh, we get that low E in there. Or we could choose to do the high E. This is an E note where my middle finger is. So I just went from F, C over E, to the D minor 7. So I'm clamping down here. I'm holding 2 notes here. Just a cool sounding chord. Which leads us to the F. The dreaded F. F is such a hard chord in the beginning, isn't it? Commonly, what we do, I'm gonna call this easy F or cheater F, but it's just like a traditional C, but you bring these two down 1. The thing about F is you do not want to play this low E string. The low E string really ruins the chord in my opinion. However, revealing the high E string, you get the note in the high register. It's not such a big low bassy note, but a high note. It's a nice chord. Another way to play this F chord in the key of C is to clamp 2 notes here. So we have the pinky now on the F note and the third finger where you would have it on a C chord. So the difference between a C and this new F chord, technically an F over C, but it passes as an F. Kind of like suspending the F, but you gotta drop the middle finger in order to keep it more in the wheelhouse of an F chord. Having said that, that F chord sounds great. Again, the high E open, and to even reveal the middle finger note, which gives it an open G, it's basically that C sus, but we could treat it as an F. Think of it as a C sus4, or think of it as an F add to major 7 over C, or just F. Or bring that middle finger back on. Okay, what was I doing there? Keeping my third finger where it's at, keeping my pointy finger where it's at, keeping the high E string open, pinky on. I made it that 1, 2, open G, no middle finger. Bring the middle finger back on. Then do a C add to, or C2, no middle finger, back on. People have the most trouble with that C2 because the ring finger wants to touch that open D, and we're not hearing that that open D. So you gotta make sure you have nice round fingers and that you're not touching any other strings but the strings you're holding. Going on to G. When we're in the key of C, keep this in mind. This is a traditional way of playing G. Kind of going from our C chord, these two go to the top and pinky comes all the way to the bottom. This is a difficult chord a lot of times for people to do because we've got such a separation between the pinky and that third finger. But what it does, another thing, is it makes it, can be in theory, easier to get from C to G. You don't have to go to make this big shift. But another thing it does is it keeps our pointy finger open. And we can do things like, check this out, taking my middle finger off as well and just muting that second string. That's a really nice thing to do in the key of C, because what is that note there? That's a C note. Lifting the B note up, it's a C note. We get this nice full G here. That's one move in itself. If you're in the key of C and you need to go to G, just forgetting about that second string, just forgetting about it and literally just muting it. When you strum the chord, sounds full, sounds complete, everything is there. We don't have to have that middle finger note there. It's just like this low, muddy note. Why not? Suspend it and release, right? Going to A minor, a common thing I do to A minor is I just release that third finger, revealing the open G. what that does is it really connects itself to a C chord. The 6 minor, in this case A minor, is like the dark twin, the kind of goth twin who always wears black, right? And then the 1 chord, the major chord, is like the happy-go-lucky one that everything is great and round and complete and full and nice, right? But look how the A minor 7, it's an A minor 7 with the open G in it, which, by the way, let's do that number idea starting with the A. So the 6 minor, starting with the A. What is A's 7? Call it 1. 2 is B, C, D, E, F, G. We land to a G note. What it means to have a 7 is it's an A minor chord, but somewhere along in the mid or high range, we're gonna add a G note to it. Just taking that 3rd finger off reveals a G. While we're on that note, another thing I like to do with my A minor chord, or A minor 7, is have this high pinky note again, bringing this high pinky G note back in. It's a nice chord. So that was an A minor to a G over B. So I'm gonna get a little edgy here with these chord ideas. When you're in the key of C, remember C is the thread that should be able to find its way through all of it for the most part. So even though on a G chord, that C note is not in a G chord, what I'm talking about right now is the 3rd chord, the G over B. No, sorry, the 7th chord, the G over B. This is just a fun little exercise for you to do. A minor 7, keep the pinky in there, because why not? Bring in that B note. So in this moment, it's passing as this G over B-ish. More of a G sus4 over B, because we've got the C note in it. But it just sounds cool. That wants to really land back to home, the C chord. So that's a move for G over B, is literally to keep the pointy finger there. It doesn't sound good to stay there. It doesn't work as its own kind of sovereign chord, but a lot of times the over chords don't sound good to just hang there. Remember, over chords, a lot of times we think of them as like stepping stones to get from one thing to the next thing. In that case, the 6 minor, stepping up to the 1, passing over the G over B. So the key of C is a lot of times used for folk style. It's a very kind of traditional key that you can play bluegrass and folk type traditional styles with. I think it's a great sounding key, and I think it has a lot of potential. Some of the keys don't have as much, I feel like, potential in this open position type shapes. That's why you see people using capos a lot and using keys like key of G and doing these common chords, because it's easy to do and it sounds kind of cool. I think key of C and those more alternate shapes really bring the key of C back as a contender for a common key to play in. And folk music has kind of shown us that as well. So thank you for watching these 3 introduction videos to the key of C. Everything we did was basically in these first 3 frets. If you want to get more into diving into the key of C, we're going to do more videos for each of the main 5 keys. So let's back up just a second and talk about the different common keys. We're going to do videos for the key of A, key of C, key of D, key of E, and key of G. Those 5 keys are the most common keys that we play as rhythm acoustic players. So it's good to have your head wrapped around each key. We're building a portfolio or a folder in our brains for each key. When you see those chords, C, F, G, A minor specifically, you'll know you're in the key of C. And we're going to build moves and information and scales and everything around each key. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Jacob Paul. We're with Inside Out Studio. You can go to insideoutnwa.com. You can download a free guitar curriculum And you can see all these videos in a categorized way.